not not exactly super. You know, they're somewhat understandably secretive in the way that they operate, but I have an incredible opportunity to and go to their headquarters and get a better understanding of like what they're about really. Okay? Their abbreviation is JCP. They were founded on the 15th of July 1922, 102 years ago. We are going to be heading to their headquarters in Shibuya. They have a youth wing called the Democratic Youth League of Japan, and their membership as of January 2024 is around 250,000. I've heard numbers as high as 500,000 though, so I'm actually kind of confused why it says it's 250,000, and their membership numbers are obviously declining. Their political position, according to Wikipedia, is left wing to far left. Monique 777, thank you. But they've gone through multiple different formations throughout time. They've had a more revolutionary wing, and they've had a more revisionist wing, and obviously the current party formation, in and of itself, is revisionist. What? Why the are you going to a Japanese Communist Party meeting? How would that make any sense? Wait, what? I'm a political commentator who is leftist, and I like. It make me worried for you, dog. Old Mad Frank. What? I'm a leftist political content creator, and I'm fascinated with the world of Japanese politics, and would love the opportunity to interview people that are directly a part of this movement. What do you mean you are worried about me, dog? And yes, I will have someone with me who is actually a researcher, researching and writing a dissertation on the Japanese Communist Party. As a matter of fact, he's how we were able to get this level of access. Is this like some weird anarchist grievance? I don't know what that man was talking about. I have seen capybaras. Yes, I've pet capybaras as well. Yeah, DJ Academics moment. The JCP founded in 1922 in the consultation with a common turn was deemed illegal in 1925 and repressed for the next 30 years, engaging in underground activity. After World War II, the party was legalized in 1945 by the Allied occupation authorities, but its unexpected success in 1949 general election led to the Red Purge, in which tens of thousands of actual and suspected communists were fired from their jobs in government, education, and industry. The Soviet Union encouraged the JCP to respond with a violent revolution, and the resulting internal debate fractured the party into several factions. The dominant faction, backed by the Soviets, waged an unsuccessful guerrilla campaign in the rural areas. We've covered this before, which undercut the party's public support. So, as is historically the case with many communist socialist formations all around the world, not only is there a tremendous political repression, oftentimes backed by fascist adjacent or directly fascist governments, and also a decent amount of sectarian infighting due to methods that that the same class of workers in different circumstances choose to use. I believe that the JCP's internal struggles were directly born out of the division between the fissures created along the lines of a more peasant-style class of workers that were interested in more revolutionary tactics. And remember, this is post-World War II in Japan. So it's not, we're not talking about like a normal circumstance. We're talking about post-World War II period in Japan, where there's still plenty of remnants of the previous fascist governance of the Japanese Empire at that point, and the Allies have designed the country. Well, not the Allies, specifically the American government has designed the country in its own vision, and it is functionally an occupied nation, which is part of the reason why there was more room for immediate action of this sort. As far as I understand, the internal divisions also were born out of the fractions that even exist in more modern iterations in the Western world. Fractions like the intellectual youth supporters of the party in city areas that were revisionist and did not want to engage in any sort of guerrilla campaign. In 1958, Kenji Miyamoto became the JCP's leader and moderated the party's policies, abandoning the previous line of violent revolution. Miyamoto also began distancing the JCP from the Eastern Bloc in the 1960s, and the party maintained a neutral stance during the Sino-Soviet split and declared its support for multi-party democracy in opposition to the one-party politics of China and the Soviet Union, and purged the pro-Soviet or Chinese members. His efforts to regain electoral support were particularly successful in urban areas such as Osaka, Kyoto, and Tokyo, and the JCP worked with the Japan Socialist Party in the 1970s to elect a number of progressive mayors and governors. By 1979, the JCP held about 10% of the seats in the National Diet. The party saw a brief electoral resurgence after the collapse of the JSP, the Japanese Socialist Party, in 1996. However, the party has generally been in decline since, in terms of electoral results. The party at present advocates for the establishment of a democratic society based on pacifism. It believes that its objective can be achieved by working within an electoral framework while carrying out extra parliamentary struggle against imperialism and its subordinate ally, monopoly capital. As such, the JCP does not advocate violent revolution, but a rather democratic revolution to achieve democratic change in the politics and the economy. It accepts the current constitutional position of the emperor, but opposes the involvement of the imperial house in politics. It's staunchly anti-militarist, and JCP firmly supports Article 9 of the Japanese Constitution and seeks to dissolve the Japan Self-Defense Forces. These are some of the questions that I'm going to be asking them, especially as it pertains to the American ongoing occupation in Japan, the military bases, and the number of different issues that the American military bases and American service members cause on Japanese soil, and also the recent militarism of Japanese self-defense forces, the recent increase in spending on defense by Japan, led by the United States of America, in an effort to also maintain this defensive posture against the rising tide of Chinese-style socialism. These are some of the questions I want them to address if possible. But yes, they understandably oppose Japan's military alliance with the United States as an unequal relationship and infringement of Japan's national sovereignty, which is correct. Okay? They have been outlawed. They have been persecuted, prosecuted throughout its history. And to this day, from what I understand, there is still an air of mass surveillance surrounding all matter of leftist political activity, but specifically even the Japanese Communist Party, despite them being revisionist and pacifist openly. Okay? Cancel all your Japan plans, another plane crash? Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Wait, what is the JCP stance on Japanese imperialism and nationalism? I've also, they are anti-nationalist and anti-imperialist. But while they don't have an issue with the symbolic existence of the emperor, they do not believe the emperor should have any say whatsoever in the efforts, in the affairs of the government. Anyway. Almondorian is correct. This is actually. This is also one of the things that I want to understand. Japan is a dystopian capitalist country that is ripe for socialist ideas. Well, I'm not going to say yet these revisionists blew it, but I want to ask them about that. That Japan is an incredibly. Japan is an incredibly hyper-capitalist, dare I say, dystopia, and yet it works. And this is fascinating to someone like myself because while the contradictions are glaring, it seems like hundreds of years of Japanese culture has been able to maintain the capitalist structure that currently exists in Japan, regardless of all of the many different issues and many different failures that exist within hyper-capitalist societies. And I want to understand. I want to understand how things work in modern Japan and what JCP's intentions are, like what kind of political mobilization they engage in, and is there any way of moving, or is there any way through electoralism to move Japan in this direction? What are some of the issues facing modern Japan from the perspective of the Japanese Communist Party and what they're doing to address some of these issues? So these are some of the things I'm very curious about. So treat this as like maybe a deeper dive and a better understanding of modern Japanese politics. So there will be there will be a translator there with us, okay? Fear not. And I believe they have English speaking party members as well. I'm currently waiting for March to get here so that we can watch this. Will you be posting your interview today separately? I always go to work when you start the RL portion of the Japan streams. The interview will, of course, still the interview, of course, will be featured on my my YouTube as well. Can you ask about their thoughts on immigrants in Japan? I'm an immigrant, by the way. Yes, and I will field some of your questions as well, as long as they're good ones and not silly ones, okay? So fear not.